My mom was 18 when she had me. And it was us for a while, probably for like the first 5 years, but 5, 6 years before my siblings started popping out. And boy, did they pop out. So my mom, and my stepdad had kids every year. So my mom got immediately busy with my siblings. And I immediately became the third parent because we didn't come from money or anything like that. And I think around, once I was getting to those years of like 11, 12, 13, I was like really on my own. I was just kind of asked to do stuff to help, but there wasn't a lot of emotional management. And it was weird to the point where, like I say now, it's like my mom, I think I have more of an emotional relationship with my dad than I do with my mom, even though I'm like scared of him. Like, I think I kissed my dad on the cheek and hugged my dad more. And I think my dad said, "I loved you more than my mom did." And, my mom was always like an emotionally distant person, because of how she grew up. But, at those very vulnerable ages, I was on my own. I was like, I couldn't, I had a therapist tell me, like, who could you rely on during that time? Like, was there anyone in that you could actually talk to? And that really hurt me. And I was like, no. And I think the shit, now I'm getting into it. Sad thing is, there's still, I don't know when I could talk to my family, really. I'm sure if I sat down, I could, but it doesn't feel like, I feel like I'm bothering them. So I say all that to say is, like, I'm the oldest of like 7 siblings, and my mom was too busy being a mom. And I was, and for a couple of years, I was on my own living in my grandma's house, like 13, 14, 15. I didn't realize how vulnerable ages those are. And I realized that's when my people pleasing started coming out. That's when my my just being super driven came out, because I'm like, for the longest time, I'm like, okay, if as long as I keep winning, then one day I'll get her attention, or one day she'll give me the reaction I always wanted. And that's just a hug and saying, "I love you and I'm proud of you." And I never really got that, and still haven't. Um, I I took my mom on a dream trip to Ireland. She always wanted to go to Ireland, and I surprised her on a call with my family for her 50th birthday. And I was like, "Hey, I got this trip for you." And she was like, "Sweet, great, thanks." Oof. So obviously, so I say all this to say, not to make this a pity party about me, but you got to know where it comes from. Like, you got to know where it comes from. And that's the only way. And it hurts, still hurts me talking about this, because I'm still dealing with it. But I know now. I think it was really dangerous to think about me moving through the world as a grown ass man, not knowing these things, not knowing where this comes from. So you got to know your origin story. And it is hard to look at, but it's necessary for you to do something about it. So I get where that wanting to win people over and the people pleasing, when someone shuts down or pulls away, that I have this anxiousness where I got to win them over. When they are being tense and they are giving me a lot of tension and they are being maybe a little aggressive, I shut down and run away, and then that's why avoidance comes in. And it's easy to feel broken. It's easy to feel bad. It's easy to feel like you don't deserve love. It's easy to feel unlovable. But once you realize that we're all dealing with it, and once you realize that this is just a younger version of yourself that had to develop these things in order to matter, and it wasn't fair, and it's your job now as an adult to do something about it for that little one, for that little version of you, that is a journey that it's worth having. Because it's hard to do it for you. It's another thing to do it for your inner child. And knowing that, like, that wasn't fair. You shouldn't have had to do that. And by God, I will move and take action every day to make sure you never have to do that again. And it's important that we take this time for ourselves, to not only for us give ourselves grace, but to give other people grace too.
The Self-Hype Podcast. Self-Hype Podcast.